Hi everyone, I hope you're having a great week. My name's Chris Barclay from Evolve 8 Coaching, and at Evolve 8 Coaching we focus on strengthening capability and culture in organisations because we know that results in business success. Probably like me, you're looking forward to another fantastic innovation festival with Northumbrian Water, and I'm delighted that we're involved again, both in this short talk on innovation, but also in facilitating a daily dash. And it really is one of the highlights of the year. It's such a fantastic event. So without further ado, I'd like to jump ahead. I'm going to ask a question in this little talk as some food for thought as you enter into the festival and you go through your various exercises and you're really focused on getting great outcomes. And I'm going to ask the question, does innovation matter? Now, as you might recognise when I show these two images, certainly most of you will, perhaps some younger folks won't recognise one of them. Innovation really matters. And if you think about Blockbuster and Netflix, they're a prime example and a great example of where innovation is at its best and frankly, sadly, at its worst. Blockbuster, back in the early 2000s, had 9,000 stores, turned over around $6 billion and employed 60,000 people. Sadly, Blockbuster no longer exists. Really tragic and sad story. But sadly, that's happened to many businesses who have not innovated. Netflix are very innovative, started off in a very similar business model to Blockbuster, providing video tapes, which we used to put into machines in the good old days, or dark old days. And now, of course, Netflix stream content online. And they do that in such a way that they have become the market leader. And sadly, folks like Blockbusters no longer exist. So they saw the need to innovate and do things differently. And now they turn over around $20 billion, growing at 30% a year. So I would like to suggest to you, as I'm sure you're aware, that innovation really does matter. Innovation really is about not just the future. It's your way of investing in now and in the future. And it's absolutely critical for every single business who wants to be sustainable and successful in the future. Now, I thought I have to give you a bit of context about who I am and who Evolve 8 are, or some of this you might be wondering where it's coming from. This is a quick bit of my background. So I'm a PhD chemist originally, and I spent 20 years in corporate R&D working on some fantastic global brands, managing global brands and global teams. These brands, many of which you can see here, are approaching or are billion-dollar brands in their own right. I was fortunate to live and work in many parts of the world, including some of these you can see, such as very innovative Singapore, where I lived for many years, as well as spending time in China and Beijing. So I've been very fortunate, but what it's taught me is helped me learn about capability and culture, and so I set up Evolve 8 Coaching to help organisations strengthen their capability and culture, because that really is what drives business success in any business. In Evolve 8, we also do a number of other things as well as innovation, because we have a fantastic team who I'll mention later. We focus on things that make a real positive difference to business, so such as resilience training, change management, how do you get the best out of your teams and managers, digital culture, etc. And we're very fortunate to have a team of experts who allow us to do that. And fundamentally, what's at the heart of everything we do is, if you can have happy and productive people in your organisation, you can be successful. The individuals will feel great and the company will do well. And that's what we endeavour to do in every single bespoke programme we create and in every partnership we have with businesses. So, this might feel a little bit different because we do things different. We use some high cognition learning because we want you to really think, because that's when we're at our best and that's when we learn and that's when we innovate. So this talk might feel a little bit different. I hope it does. And I hope you find it interesting and useful. That's the two things that I really want from this. You find it interesting and you find it useful. And that's what we try to do with every piece of work that we do. So please have a quick look at what you see on the screen. And I'm just going to give you 10 seconds to see any of your observations before I comment. So I'm sure by now, some of you are already saying that 9 and 7 does not equal 15. And you're absolutely correct. But why do I do that? Why do I put on there something which is wrong? And I do that because of two factors. One is, human nature is such that we gravitate towards the negative. That's the way our brains are pre-wired. So we have to be careful about that. We have to be aware of it and careful about it. And also, when we innovate, we want to see when things aren't going right. So it's this sort of balance between how do we see when things aren't going right and how do we have optimism. So I would love you to think, if you saw this in the future, would you not say 80% of these are correct, these calculations? One of them is wrong, 20%, but it's out by 1 digit. Now, no one says that. I didn't say it the first time I saw it. But it's about how do you innovate. You have to know the facts and you have to have a level of optimism. So I'm going to explore that as we go forward. So innovation is fundamentally about people. Innovation, you can set up processes, systems, which you should, but it's about how do you really engage your people so that they are at their best and they are creating new ways of thinking and constantly improving the way you operate in every aspect of your business. And we love to work with organisations on innovation because it is such a rich area to focus on, and it has fantastic benefits for the people and, of course, really importantly, the bottom line of the organisation as well. Now, let's jump back to history and see what history teaches us. So as you look at these 3 images from left to right, again, I'll give you a moment just to think, what do you see? What do you see as you look at these? And hopefully as you look at them, you're thinking, okay, the very far left looks very old, and you'd be right, because that's the printing press around 1400. And the printing press was a fantastic innovation which really changed the world, giving us access to written content, etc. As you move to the middle image, I'm sure you're already thinking sort of industrial revolution around the 1700s, late 1700s. And again, that changed the world because we started to be able to create product, and that created a great deal of wealth in the world and employment, etc., etc. So again, lots of innovation drove a great deal of business success, but also changed the way that people lived and worked. And of course, lastly, on the right-hand side, the computer around the 2000s, where we now know our lives revolve around electronic devices and electronic systems, and that's fantastic if used correctly. But what does history teach us? These were all fantastic innovations that changed the world. So when people think of innovation, they think of these big things, and I'm going to explore that a bit and talk to you a bit more about that. But really importantly, before we do, if you're standing there thinking innovation should be quite easy, please don't be mistaken, and I know you won't be. It's tough stuff, right? You have to work on it, you have to be intentional, and you have to understand there'll be frustrations, but you have to view them as learnings. But it's really important to go into it with the right mindset, or you really will struggle. You also have to use different points of view on the world to be innovative. If you have an organisation where you're trying to make things much the same and you're employing people with similar skills, I would encourage you to look a bit wider. How do you bring in folks with different skills? Because it's those differences that will create more innovation. You know, the most successful and innovative companies in the world use different types of people, skill set, behaviours, and that creates this environment of innovation. So really important to think about that diversity in your organisation. As a prime example, this is my organisation, Evolve 8. So we do bespoke training programmes and coaching programmes, and we've intentionally got a group of people. This is an example of the types of folks we have, very high calibre individuals, but they come from fashion design, they come from senior policing, they come from the sports arena, from the scientific arena, architecture. And the reason for that is, if you really want to innovate, innovation happens when you have different points of view and you have people with different skills, and that's when you can really innovate. So I'd love you to think about how do you do that in your organisation, get the right skills. And I'm not suggesting you need a golfer or a swimmer in your team, but you can learn from these disciplines about how to be innovative. So the big question always is, what on earth is innovation? What is it? Very simply, in my mind, it's a positive change. People tend to try and make it more challenging than it might be. It's a positive change, but often what causes the problem is this sort of what's needed, what's possible. Lots of people focus on the what's possible. We fall in love with a technology, with an approach, and we follow that approach, and it might not be the right thing for our client, for our business, etc. So I would encourage you not to get too focused on the what's possible straight away. Really, what's needed matters for a business. It's really about what does your client need, what does your customer need, what does your business need. And then if you marry that together with the what's possible, that's really where innovation happens. You know, this intersection between the what's needed and the what's possible, that's the companies that really do innovation well when they're thinking in that way. One of the other big challenges on innovation is folks think it's about big and occasional, these big life-changing, world-changing innovations, which there are many of course, and they're fantastic. But really it's about some of those, but it's also about the small and frequent, constantly innovating. That's the real secret, because that's what really changes your business. So really thinking about the small and frequent, so sustaining innovations as they would be termed, and the big and occasional, these transformational innovations. It's both of those things, not just the one, that can drive these positive changes. Now, well, let's explore that, these small and frequent and big and occasional. And again, you might think, why am I showing you this? 140th out of 141 competitors in a bike race. And it's not me. You might think, well, that doesn't suggest you're very good. But I'd like you to think slightly different, because this might be where you feel like you are on innovation today. You might feel like you're starting out, but there's a long way to go. Some of your competitors, partners are maybe better at this than you. But have a little thought about this. I'll let you look at the image. So Geraint Thomas, the once Sky cyclist, was 140th out of 141 in the Tour de France in 2008. And he went on to win it in 2018, 10 years later. Now, how did he do that? He obviously worked very hard, and we'll explore some of the things that happened to make him do that. But also the team worked incredibly innovatively throughout that Sky team. They ended up winning 7 Tour de France wins, which was remarkable. But they focused on every aspect of their business, and they innovated on the saddle, the wheels, the pedal, the mattress that the rider would sleep on, everything. They innovated, and you would know what the term marginal gains, where they broke everything down, but they innovated in every single aspect, and they drove to a point that they were incredibly successful. So that's this small and occasional change, small and frequent, changes make a big difference. Now then you think of us as consumers today. Look at the way we shop from top to bottom, the way we buy goods, the way we use accommodation, hotels, etc., and the way we travel. Now that's changed overnight. Now these are maybe some of these big and occasional changes that you see in innovation, where Amazon have redefined the way we shop online. Airbnb have created a very different model for accommodation, hotels, apartments, etc. And Uber have redefined the way we travel. Now, some of these businesses like Amazon are incredibly successful. Airbnb and Uber still have some challenge, but also very successful. But they're being incredibly innovative about their business. And using these as inspiration is a great way to think about how you move forward. So it's always difficult to try and capture innovation in 10 or 15 minute talk. Really, it's great to partner with organisations and work through the fine detail, but I'd love to leave you with a few thoughts of things that could be really important for you. The first of these is expertise is needed if you're going to be innovative, right? It's not just about get lucky, work hard. You need expertise. And how do you build expertise? You learn. And one of the great books I'd love you to read if you haven't had the opportunity is Peak by Anders Ericsson. And he really is one of the foremost experts in the world on building expertise. And if you look at the images from left to right, fundamentally it's about practice, deliberate practice. That's key to deliberately practice, and you have to practice being innovative. The middle image is about getting out of your comfort zone, because innovation is different and it won't feel comfortable all the time, very rarely often. So it's really about how you get out of your comfort zone. And the third image is about getting feedback, and viewing feedback as a gift. If someone tells you you're not on the right path, you need to change, and being open to that change. So I'd love you to think about how you build expertise, because that's critical for innovation. Mindset is massive when it comes to innovation, really is. And if you want to be innovative, you really have to move away from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. Growth mindset, as I'm sure you know, is about looking at challenges as opportunities, not getting frustrated by them, but getting excited by them. This stuff is not easy. To be innovative is not easy, but if you put the right culture in place in an organisation, the right systems, and you have the right mindset, a growth mindset, you can really become very, very innovative very quickly. And again, be a student. I love to read, be a student. Carol Dweck is the foremost expert on mindset. Read about growth mindset. It's fantastic. It's an amazing enabler for every organisation, and you can't be innovative without it. Now, a little bit of a jump to the side. I'd love to ask you a couple of questions. When you think about yourself at work or your organisation, I'd love you to think about, have you got a yes or no answer to these 3 questions? Who likes to know what they're doing matters? Yes or no? Who enjoys having or using your know-how or expertise? Yes or no? And who enjoys having some independence? Yes or no? So I think, based on experience, because we've used this with many clients and partners, I believe that most of you have answered yes to all of those questions. And that's what I've seen throughout the times we've used them. And the reason is, these are the fundamental motivators of what makes us tick as human beings. Number one is we want purpose. Number two is we want mastery. We want to have mastery that we can use, build and use. And we want autonomy. And if you want an innovative culture, it's absolutely critical that you're aware of these important human motivators and that you build them into your culture and organisation, because they really allow you to be innovative. So, I've talked about a lot of stuff, and apology, it's coming from all different angles, but I'm trying to give you a bit of inspiration before you go into the Innovation Festival and during the festival itself. Innovation is an amazing space. It allows you to become whatever you want to be. It allows your people in business to become whatever you want them to be. It's fantastic, but it takes real focus. It is about positive change. It's about optimism. These are a bit of a summary of some of the things we went through. It's about what's needed and what's possible and knowing the difference. It's about small and frequent and big and occasional. It's about diversity of thinking and know-how, as we talked about, how it's important to have different skills. And it's about the last three things we talked: building expertise, using the right growth mindset, and understanding motivation and using it. But it's a fantastic set of areas to be working in, and it's great fun. So I would love you to go away and have a think. If you get the opportunity, take 10 minutes and think on your personal commitment. What will you do differently to be innovative? And commit what you'll do and when. Just take 10 minutes to think and get started. And take that to your organisation, because it's just such an enabling. And I know many of your organisations are innovative already, but you can always get better at this stuff. Always, always. So, sort of to conclude, I'd love to say good luck innovating with your amazing, awesome, diverse growth mindset team. If we can help you in any way, we'd love to help. So to conclude, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video and listen. As I say, I'm Chris Barclay. My contact details are there if you'd like to get in touch. We'd love to have a chat, help you out if we can. But, you know, keep looking at capability and culture. These are the things that make the big difference to companies. And always remember, life is good.